So I just want to put this video together to share with people how the eviction process works. So I've just left one of the county court just now for about, I don't know, about a minute, 2 minute sit down with the judge to get the possession. So just to give you a kind of context of what's happened. So we rented a place, a room with one of our tenants about probably 8-9 months ago. So he, to be fair, it was probably my against my better judgment, and I fell for the story that he was destitute, working, but getting divorced and nowhere to go. So gave him the place. He paid for a couple of months and then started to not pay. I think I'd like to believe that he was telling the truth, that he lost his job and everything else. But then it became the norm, and then he worked that actually, he can get away with it. So he did. So 6 months later, he's still not paying. So we went through the process of the Section 8 notice of the Housing Act, which is basically serving him the minute he falls behind by 2 months rent. We then went to our solicitor, Tracy, who then served the Section 8 notice to him, which means that he has to put right his his due rent that he was owing at that time. So we went to court and applied for a possession, and now we've just, after 4 months of waiting for that possession, we've just seen the judge now, and we've got both the possession notice, which means that we can get the house back, or he has to leave. We got the money judgment, is something that I always do now, so that I can pursue them in the county court for a CCJ, as well as a high court enforcement officer that will go, once we know where he lives, to go and chase him for that money. Don't get me wrong, we'll never get that money, but I'm helping other landlords in the future that, when they do a credit check, people like that will flag up, and we will then be much more aware of who we're taking on. So today we got the possession. Like I said, the court are so backed up at the moment that it takes that long. It took like 2 minutes for the judge to, having said that, my solicitor's amazing. She prepared everything. So don't try and do it on your own. It is so much legal requirements, and they change all the time. So if you get it wrong, you'll be here after 4 months and you've done one slight mistake in the paperwork, and then you're back to square one again. So don't do that. I think Tracy's going to end up costing me about £800 for her fees. It's worth paying a professional to do that. So we've got now the possession. So what will happen is now, and she's telling me that the court will take a few weeks before that possession gets to the tenant anyway. So in between that time, she will email the tenant to say we've been granted possession. Hopefully that triggers him to leave. If not, then we are also applying for once we get the possession notice, we will apply for a bailiff. But to do that, we have to wait 2 weeks between today's date of being awarded the possession and for us to serve a bailiff letter to the gentleman. So that's 2 weeks worth of waiting again. Then we get to a bailiff point, but that time Tracy has worked it out. I think it'll be the 12th of December, and most likely the judge or court are not going to serve eviction for the 2 week period over Christmas. So we're looking at really early January before we get a sheriff from the bailiff office to go out and actually enforce the possession notice. Hopefully the guy gets the possession and thinks that's it and game over, he leaves. But if he knows the law, and a lot of these people know what they're doing, and they eke it out until the last moment, if he does know the law, he will know that we'll have to get a sheriff in to then enforce that possession, which then gives him another 2 or 3 weeks worth of free rent. So be warned, this is increasing by the day. And I guess cost of living crisis is making it even worse for people. And sadly, I was just saying to Tracy also, I try to help this guy, but unfortunately now the next person that comes that is marginally in a similar situation, we will not be entertaining. So sadly, he's now messed it up for lots of other people that will come after him. But be warned. So key messages around rents here: make sure on the way in you serve all your paperwork that you have, so that you can, if it's still around, to use Section 21 accelerated process. If it's not, then you'll end up using Section 8. You'll have to wait 2 months for the rent to be in arrears, then go to court, seek a possession order. That takes a few months even to get, because of the court are so backed up. Once you get that, you get the possession like I've done today. You wait for 2 weeks for that possession order to expire. Then you go to apply for a bailiff to enforce the possession. You know, unfortunately, it's over Christmas. That's why we might have another delay, but that is the process that people have to follow. So hopefully you'll never have to go down that route. But if you do, my best advice is do not wait. The minute that the tenant is 2 months behind, get on to a solicitor and get that Section 8 notice served. Otherwise, you know, if you wait, you will be in for a few £1,000s. So just to let people know, right now we're down around almost £3,000, £3,500 worth of debt, and then on top of that we'll have to pay call fees and everything else. So we're looking at all in about £4,000 for a tenant who was paying £400 for a room. Crazy. Anyway, I hope that helps. If you've got any questions, please DM.